Do you think and this is like just my personal question, but do you think it's something that I need to think about differently now that I know that I am ethnically Jewish? Or do you think it's purely a cultural thing that you grow up with? Is it meaningful to be ethnically Jewish without
having known about it? Are you asking whether we think you're Jewish?
Yes, I suppose so, to some extent. Or I would still only be half Jewish, but yes.
Well, half Jewish is fine with me. My children are half Jewish. And one thing we haven't discussed, I'm going to have to go in a minute, but one thing we haven't discussed is a key element of my book, which, not the first person to say it, but that religion is kind of irrelevant as far as I'm concerned, and that people who go on about anti-Semitism not being racism but religious intolerance are just bad faith people trying to downgrade anti-Semitism to the lesser charge of religious intolerance because, I'm an atheist and the Gestapo would shoot me tomorrow and it's completely irrelevant. That does speak to what Hadley was talking about, which is the psychosis of the anti-Semite when it becomes a mass psychosis is really much more to do with a kind of actual sense of alienness to the Jewish blood. It becomes nothing to do almost with politics and certainly nothing to do with religion. It's just an actual sort of horror psychosis that they feel towards Jews as this not human thing. And I would say, and again, it was an interesting thing actually, which is someone was telling me, this guy was telling me about how, in response to my book, he's a guy who worked for the Labour Party. He was on the NEC, and he told me about how in 2017 or something, there was a leaflet going around educating people at that conference about the Holocaust. And it included all the people that this leaflet said were targeted by the Holocaust. And it included gays, disabled people, Roma, communists, trade unions, didn't mention Jews. Just didn't mention Jews. Now, there's two left-wing things going on there. Number one, we need to recenter the conversation towards these other vulnerable groups. That's partly what they'll be thinking. The other thing they'll be thinking, which he talked about, is, well, Jews shouldn't let Nazis define them, right? And I always think, what fucking non-Jew thinks that, right? What fucking non-Jew thinks when you're being herded in gunpoint towards the mass grave? I'm not going to let this person define me. It's such complete bollocks. So my point is, Simon, you would be in a lot of shtuch if the Nazis took over, despite not knowing you were Jewish for a long time. So I'm happy to see you.
Well, there was a joke shared in my newly found extended family that we were traditionally Jewish enough for Hitler, but not for Israel.
Yeah.
But I believe that may have been adapted now. I'm not sure.
Now that you're out, now that you've come out, Simon, there will be a point at some point where you will make an argument. And it'll be dismissed on the basis of the fact that you were Jewish. And at that point, my son, you will be a Jew.